So you've still got the red hair?
Yes.
That's all you remember?
Yeah, well, he looks like the fellow that did it, my word.
You don't want to pay him back?
No.
Jim, how old were you when that fight took place?
14, mate. The Lionel.
Could have been about 12.
Yeah.
Were you surprised when he wanted to fight you?
Oh, you know, sort of. But he was pretty confident, you know, that he could beat me.
Well, he must have been, because you, Jim Beaumont, a stone or more heavier and 2 years older, had just returned from Melbourne where you'd won the Victorian junior flyweight title.
That's right.
I didn't know this.
Lionel, that wasn't very good matchmaking, was it?
Not multi, no.
Jim Beaumont, thanks very much for making your first plane trip to be with us tonight.
Thank you.
See you again.
That night, Lionel, you were the only loser on the Warrigal team. On the long trip home, battered and bruised, you decided to retire from boxing for good, and you did, in fact, stay out for 2 years. But now there are 9 children in the family, and the only money that comes into the house is the invalid pension your father receives because he's too ill to work. So at 14, you decide to fight again. I think there were 3 country fights first, and one was very important because you beat a good fighter and your father was at ringside.
Yeah, that
and got
was,
a chance to see you.
David Dixon at the technical school in Warrigal, in my hometown,
And your dad got the chance finally to see you fight.
And you know, I had to win, and I did, fortunately.
Well, following that, Frank, you arranged for Lionel to fight an amateur preliminary to a professional bout at Melbourne's Festival Hall. And nobody is more excited, Lionel, than your father. He tells everybody who will stop to listen about his son Lionel, aged 15, stepping into that sacred square. But Frank, I think tragedy struck then.
Yes, Mike, it did. Lionel and I arrived in from training about a couple of nights before the fight was due to take place. And Lionel's grandmother came out into the yard and told me that his dad had just passed away.
Well, Frank, you wanted to call off the fight, but Lionel, you want to go on with it because you think that's what your father would have wanted.
Yes, I wanted to fight because I thought that, you know, he taught me the fundamentals of the game. And I knew that he would have wanted me to go on. And so I did. And
in fact, you went straight from the funeral to the stadium, and I think Frank Lionel said something to you on the way.
Yes, Mike, he did. He said, well, I guess he said it's all up to me now. Frank, he said, I've got to feed the kids.
Well, we'll see how you went about that, Lionel, in just a moment.
Better shot than okay.
In your first fight at Festival Hall, Lionel, you win easily on points. You have 14 more fights in your amateur career, winning 12 of them, including Australian flyweight title. Right. And that brings us up to 1963. Frank Oak's work makes it difficult for him to take you much further in boxing, so he sends you to Melbourne on weekends to spar at Jack Rennie's gym in Essendon. You quickly become one of the family, and Jack Rennie and wife Shirley find you a job as a spray painter.
Lionel was good at spray painting. In 6 months, he was as good as the men who had been at the plant for years.
Well, another of the great friends you've made along the way, and the man who secretly delivered you to us tonight, Jack Rennie.
Yeah.
You don't want to pay him back for what he's done to you tonight.
I wasn't too sure what was going on earlier on, but well, it's been very nice anyhow, you know, so far.
So far.
I don't know what to expect, actually. So I'll just say so far.
Okay. Jack, you've been more than a friend, a trainer, manager, I guess most things to Lionel.
Father, too, at times I had to stand on his toes when he got out of line.
For what purpose, Jack?
Well, he was a chain smoker. He'd been smoking since he was 10, and that was no good for a fighter.
Was he always training during the 6 years he was with you?
Well, sometimes he'd have a break, and then we'd show films, and he'd study the great fighters. But he decided to become a professional, so there's a lot of work to do, and we got to it.
Right. Lionel, 4 days after your 17th birthday, and now a professional, you fight your first importation from Thailand. That was Singtong Portal.
That's right.
Jack, who followed?
Well, we fought Porter again, Teddy Rainbow, Arthur Clark, Bobby Wells. There was a whole succession of them. But by Christmas 1965, Lionel was starting to make what we thought was good money in those days.
And that's a happy Christmas for you, Lionel, because you can afford toys and clothes for your younger brothers and sisters, things for your mother. You know she's always needed.
Lionel always looked after his family. He enjoys giving them presents.
Well, there we are, Lionel, the other half of the Rennie team, Shirley Rennie. Shirley, when you and Jack took Lionel into your home, you realised that his education is sadly lacking.
Yes.
You bought him books. I think you enrolled him in correspondence courses. And on his 21st birthday, then you gave him an electric guitar.
That's right.
And I guess you got a bit sick of those guitars somewhere along the way.
I think we could have opened a guitar shop.
Yeah, I think there were 6 or 7 guitars.
That's right.
He never stopped singing.
And then I think to teach him to handle money, you acquired a sandwich shop.
That's right. Yes.
And then I think Lionel sang for about 3 years, "Please release me from the kitchen."
Particularly when he was locked in the kitchen to work.
Right. So the eventful teenage years flow by, and in each professional fight, Lionel seems to get better. In 1966, he takes the Australian bantamweight title, and then fights a succession of highly rated local and overseas boxers. In win after win, he also wins the Australian public, who now not only accept him, but claim him as their own. And then comes the big one, Jack, that unexpected phone call.
Well, after Lionel beat Gattinari in that great fight, we were sitting at home one night and suddenly there was a promoter on the line from Tokyo. And he said to us, "We'd like to offer Rose a fight with Harada for the world bantamweight title."
Lionel, what did you say to that?
Take it.
Take it.
Take it. Yes.
Pretty definite.
Chance.
And then I think you all sat up till about 4:30 in the morning.
Talking about it and planning the fight, and we all got out the record books and looking up Harada's record and this sort of thing. You know.
Jack and Shirley Rennie, thanks for being with us tonight. Lionel, it's barely 4 years since you left Druin to live with Jack and Shirley. Just 3 years and 4 months since you turned professional, and now at 19, you're going overseas to meet Fighting Harada for the championship of the world. And this is how it ended up.
Here is Harada again, and Rose hitting with a jab by Rose. Jab by Rose again. And lifted to the body by Harada. A jab by Rose once more. And there is the end of the fight. And the champion and challenger embrace in the center ring. Rose is champion of the world. Lionel Rose is champion of the world. In the bantamweight division, Jack Rennie's embraced him in the corner. Lionel Rose is champion of the world.
Lionel Rose, champion of the world. Lionel, Fighting Harada, where is he today?
I think he's in the gymnasium over in Tokyo. And he's got a couple of hotels and that he runs, and so he's very well off.
Well, I can add to your knowledge because I know where he is at this precise moment, walking through that door. Miss Kubura, I would like to speak through you, and thanks for helping us. Would you thank Masahiko Harada for coming all the way from Tokyo just to be with us tonight?
今日は遠い日本からはるばるこの番組のためにいらっしゃっていただき本当にありがとうございます。何か一言。
僕非常に大変久しぶりに会って元気そうで大変嬉しく思ってます。まさかこうしたやるなんて二度と思わなかったですから。
Mr. Harada thanks you for inviting him, and this is something that he never expected to happen. He's thrilled to see Lionel again.
All right. Masahiko has been here before.
この前ここにいらっしゃったことありますね。
はい、44年にジョニー・ファミションと試合ファイトした時に。
He says he was here in 1969 to fight Johnny Famishon for world featherweight title.
Lionel, just by a coincidence, Johnny Famishon, one of your closest friends,